In today's video, we're discussing some NHL trade rumors that involve the Dallas Stars, the New York Islanders, and the Ottawa Senators. And that's coming up next. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. We review and discuss all 31 NHL teams. So if you're a huge hockey fan, consider subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. So as I mentioned off the top, today we're discussing some teams with their off-season plans and some players and trades that we might see them try to acquire here during the off-season. Now I want to start today with the New York Islanders. Obviously they got some big problems on their hands as they need to figure out a way to get the contract completed for John Tavares. But obviously at that point, it's kind of looking iffy whether or not that's going to happen, but that's a topic for another day. We will be doing a video on some John Tavares speculation and our thoughts on where things may go sometime soon once there's kind of more information on that subject. But for right now, I want to discuss their goaltending situation. Obviously, the Islanders struggled mightily this year with defense and goaltending. Keeping the puck out of the net was incredibly difficult for them. Right now they have Erik, who's a free agent, who's, I would assume, not likely to return to the Islanders, and they still have Thomas Greiss signed for 2 more seasons. So it's safe to say the Islanders need an upgrade in goal, and they need to be looking either through the trade market or free agent market this offseason to make an upgrade for sure. If they want to make any steps forward, regardless of the John Tavares situation or not, either way, it doesn't matter. They need an upgrade in goal to have any chance to compete next year. So let's take a look at some speculation that we've seen, some goalies they may try to target. Obviously through the trade market, as we mentioned in yesterday's video, as well as a few weeks back before the end of the regular season, it is possible that the Capitals may look to move a goalie during the offseason. Obviously, they've got Braden Holtby, they've got Philip Grubauer, both are pretty solid goalies, and they just signed Ilya Samsonov to his entry-level contract. Now this could play out in a variety of ways. They may decide to keep Holtby and Grubauer both and let Samsonov get some seasoning in the American Hockey League for a year or so before bringing him up to be a full-time NHLer. Philip Grubauer is an RFA, so he does need a new contract. So it'd be interesting to see how they play this out. I had speculated possibly looking at moving Holtby before, accomplish a couple of things and probably bring them a good return back. Gives them some more cap flexibility where they need to try to retain John Karlsson, which is going to be a challenge for them, I think, with the amount of raise he's going to demand. And if you take a look at everything with the Capital situation, they need to find a way to get some financial flexibility. But either way, they don't have to move a goalie, but they could choose to do so. And if they do, the way Holtby's playing in the playoffs here, I would think that the Grubauer would be the more likely one if they were going to make a move, that it might be him. So the Islanders could choose to target a guy like him or a Robin Lehner out of Buffalo. Both are RFAs, restricted free agents, that don't have contracts beyond the current season. So they might be able to get a deal done without paying too hefty of a price. So those are certainly qualified goaltenders that could help the Islanders. If they choose to go the free agent route, the top guy that I would assume that they would target would be Carter Hutton out of St. Louis. He's proven to be a more than capable backup to Jake Allen the last couple seasons. And you could probably argue he outplayed Allen this season. So he's quite valuable to the Blues. And from what I've heard and read online, it looks like they are going to be pushing hard to kind of re-sign him and keep him in the mix there in St. Louis. But should he become available, certainly would be a player that the Islanders need to target. If you take a look at some other free agent goalies, there's just not a lot on the market that really comes across as being a potential upgrade for the Islanders and really being a true number one. Like you could take a look here, like they've got some guys that they can look at. I mean, like there's Kari Lettman out of Dallas, likely isn't going to return. You've got Cam Ward out of Carolina, that might be an option, but at his age and stage of his career, I mean, his playing time he's probably better suited to be a backup, really. But he did play better than Darling did in Carolina this year, so hard to say if they'd give him an opportunity. But you've also got guys like Jonathan Bernier out of Colorado, who's not likely going to return after they sign the Czech Republic goalie Pavel Francouz. So, hard to say what the Avalanche are doing, but looks as though Bernier won't be back, so there's an option for them, as well as Andre Pavlik from the Rangers or Michael Hutchinson out of the Jets organization. Obviously, Connor Hellebuyck's got things locked down with the Jets, so Hutchinson likely won't have much of an opportunity except to play in the minors should he stay there. So, I mean, Hutchinson's kind of getting a little bit older as well, but probably done well enough in the minor leagues to certainly deserve an opportunity somewhere should that opportunity find him. But there's just not a lot of names that really jump out as saying that's really the guy they should target. So it's more likely going to happen via trade and it looks as though Grubauer or Leonard could be their main targets. Obviously, there's been a lot of speculation that Leonard is going to be traded, whereas Grubauer, there's only some mild speculation, and it's kind of more so my idea saying that the Capitals really should look at doing this. But there have been a lot of actual trade rumors around Robin Leonard, so that certainly could be a fit between the Sabres and Islanders to hook up on a trade. So leave some comments down below. Who do you think the Islanders should target for their goaltending situation? Clearly it needs an upgrade. Clearly they need to do something. Personally, I think Robin Leonard kind of makes the most sense from a trade perspective. There's not a lot of goalies that are really top #1 material that could be on a free agent market this year. So that to me makes the most sense. Unless the Capitals decide to make a move, I think Robin Leonard is probably their most likely target. So let me know what you think of that. Now, the other two teams we're going to discuss today, as I mentioned, is the Senators and the Dallas Stars. Now, they're going to be mentioned here as together as a trade speculation that I read this morning. Now, in Dallas, they obviously have a new head coach in Jim Montgomery. They're going to be looking to make some different changes to the team to try to be more competitive next year. If you take a look at their defense core, it is quite possible that they may have to move, not really have to, but it would make sense for them to move one of their defensemen, especially somebody who's maybe a little bit older or depending on contracts, etc. But if you take a look at who their top 4 could be next year with the young guys they have coming in, obviously they got John Klingberg, they have Esa Lindell, Julius Honka, Miro Heiskanen's likely going to make the team and probably would make sense for him to be at least within the top 6. It's hard to say exactly where they'll slot him. But, Heiskanen likely could be a second pair guy. They may choose to play him more as a third pair guy for the first little while. But besides those guys, they've still got Stephen Johns. They've got Dan Hamhuis, who's a free agent. They've got Greg Pateryn, who's a free agent. And then they have Mark Methot, who has 1 more year left. Obviously, Methot's first year in Dallas did not go overly well. He was injured a lot. And when he did play, it wasn't terrible, but it certainly wasn't one of his better seasons at all. So the speculation I've seen coming out of some Dallas reports is maybe would the Dallas Stars be interested in possibly moving Mark Methot. He's got 1 year left on his contract. He's 32 years old. He's making $4.9 million. So really, based on the season he had, his trade value wouldn't be overly high. Obviously, they didn't pay a lot to get him from the Vegas Golden Knights after they traded him after taking him in the expansion draft. So could a team like Ottawa look to bring him back? I mean, I haven't seen any direct reports linked to the Senators saying that that's something that they're going to try to do. This is more my thoughts, but I think in a lot of ways it makes a lot of sense. If you take a look at the Dallas Stars, trying to change things up a bit, they've got more than enough capable defensemen. Like I said, their top 4 could easily be Klingberg, Lindell, Honka, and Heiskanen, and then you've still got Stephen Johns, and then you have, they could choose to re-sign one or both of Hamhuis or Pateryn. I don't think they'll both be back, but I think it's possible they could sign one of them. So then, really, do they really need a guy like Methot? I mean, obviously, you could argue that he's got a lot more experience than a lot of these guys. He's only got 1 year left, so maybe they hang on to him. But, in some ways, it might make sense for Ottawa to try to bring him back. Obviously, the Senators have big concerns this year. It's going to be a big offseason for them. They're trying to re-sign Erik Karlsson to a long-term deal. So obviously, making Karlsson happy should be a very top priority for the Senators organization. So what better way to do that than besides offering him a contract that's fair based on what he's actually worth, which we'll see if that goes down or not. Because obviously, Senators owner Eugene Melnyk has been known as a penny pincher. So we'll see if they actually offer up an actual fair contract or not. But maybe bringing back his defense partner with Mark Methot coming back from Dallas, they likely wouldn't have to pay a big price to get him. And it could be a good fit to kind of reunite their top pair from just a few years ago. You could argue that a lot of the problems with the Senators this past year wasn't scoring. A lot of it was poor goaltending. Anderson and Mike Condon did not come through for them at all. They had very poor performances, very inconsistent play. You could certainly make the argument that a big part of the problem with the Ottawa Senators this year was their goaltending as well as their D. I mean, their goaltending was terribly inconsistent. Anderson and Condon, which the year before was a huge part of saving their season and helping them make it so far in the playoffs. And their defense was a big part of that as well with Guy Boucher's system, how he was playing that defensive 1-3-1 system. Their defense was huge and critical in making that system successful. Whereas last year they had different personnel, a lot of injuries, and it just didn't quite work. I mean, obviously, if you take a look at their D-core, Karlsson started the year banged up from his surgery. It took him quite a while to get his form back. You had Chris Weidman out for a big chunk of the year with a torn hamstring. You've had Mark Borieski out with a concussion and multiple injuries throughout the year as well. They finally get moved Dion Phaneuf which they would have liked to have done the year before, but weren't able to get it done. So I mean, they had a lot of changes on defense, and if they can take what they have right now, they get a healthy Erik Karlsson, if they can get him signed, bring back his defense partner in Mathot. You know, Dion Phaneuf's gone. You still got Cody Ceci, you got Thomas Chabot. If you get some other guys back there like Borieski, Weidman needs a new contract. But you know, either way, bringing back Mark Mathot might be a real smart move to kind of shore up their defense back there, do something to make their captain happy, along with a new contract. And you know, maybe they could actually see some nice big improvements on that back end. Not to say they're going to turn into a contender overnight, but it's a step in the right direction for sure. It's something that's an easy move to make, shouldn't be a big price to pay. And to me, it makes a lot of sense for them to try to do that. So there is speculation that the Stars may consider moving Mathot. And for me, if he's going to be available, the prime location for him to land would be back in Ottawa. Now, he does have a modified no-trade clause. I'm sure he likely would be open to going back. That's his home. That's where he's from. He and his wife just had a baby, so obviously, you know, from a family perspective, there's probably a lot of advantages that way too. So I'm sure if they were trying to facilitate a move to bring him back, that he would be all for it. So it makes good sense. But let me know down in the comments, what do you think? If the Dallas Stars make Mark Mathot available and consider moving him, wouldn't it make a lot of sense for the Senators to try to bring him back and pair him back up with Erik Karlsson for next year in an attempt to kind of rebuild their decor and try to take some steps forward to get out of the basement like they were this past season? Now, if you're new to the channel as well, I hope you consider subscribing. We cover all 31 NHL teams. There's plenty of content here for all fan bases to enjoy. Don't forget as well about the 1,000 subscriber giveaway. If you haven't already taken part, there's a video that was posted a little while back where you have to watch the video to get the instructions on how to enter the giveaway. We're only going to be leaving that open for probably another day or two, probably by Tuesday. We're going to be closing it up and completing the draw to determine the winner for that giveaway. As part of that video as well, we also launched a new logo design contest. So if you're a creative person, you want to take a chance to enter for a new logo for Top Shelf Hockey, that'd be greatly appreciated. You can follow the instructions on that video as well on how to complete your entry for that. So go watch that video. It's linked down below in the description if you haven't had a chance to do so already. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. We'll catch you next time.